quite an effort. I've been messaging, telling all my fellow colleagues that the American people are sick and tired of funding a war in Ukraine. And I even had an anti-war protest on the steps of the Capitol earlier this week. I have been introducing amendment after amendment to strip the money from Ukraine, and we got that accomplished. And it's really because of the people, Charlie. Polling shows that most Americans do not support their hard-earned tax dollars going to Ukraine. So that was a big win for me, but it was also done with 117 other Republicans that agreed with me.
All right, so Marjorie, I'm busy doing all sorts of stuff. You got to break it down for me because I'm sure for the audience. Okay, so did this pass the House of Representatives or pass a committee? Was this a single issue bill? Was this a rider? Was this an amendment? Just walk me through it because I want to make sure I understand it.
Yes, thank you so much, Charlie. So the defense bill had $300 million for Ukraine inside the bill that has been there for years. And this money goes into a special fund that the Biden administration has been using to send equipment and weapons to fund the war in Ukraine. As a matter of fact, they have spent a lot of the money out of that fund that was built up over the years. And so I've been demanding, I think I'm one of the few members of Congress that has voted for $0 to go to Ukraine since it has started. And I've been fighting very hard on the issue to stop it. Well, what happened this week is because I really fought my conference so hard, I'm the only Republican. As a matter of fact, I voted with the Democrats to knock down the rule. So I voted against the Republican rule for the defense bill, sending a strong message to my conference, sending a strong message that I am completely against the war money for Ukraine. Then after that happened, I had a lot of conversations. Again, I had an anti-war protest against the Ukraine war on the front of the Capitol steps. I argued in conference that if they want to fund money for Ukraine, they need to strip it out and they can vote for it, that I'm not voting for it and there's other members that do not want to vote for it. Well, thankfully, leadership listened. And so what they did is they created another amendment that pulled them out. And we had to vote again on a separate rule that was pulled the money out of the defense bill. So the defense bill came to the floor last night, and we passed the defense appropriations bill, which is filled with so many great things, but we passed it with no money for Ukraine.
So then there was this also 311 to 117 vote. Which one was that? That with the 300 million, was that did pass or that didn't pass? I'm sorry, I'm just trying to understand all this because.
Yes.
Yeah, so tell us about that.
So that is a separate funding bill for Ukraine. So there's 117 Republicans that voted against the $300 million that was originally inside the defense bill, but was stripped out and was a separate vote. So what you're seeing is you're now seeing over half of the Republican conference is now against sending money to Ukraine. Remember, this is a giant change. This is a big it's a big step in the right direction because in the beginning, Charlie, over 18 months ago, on the first vote, when I voted no, I believe I was one of maybe 3 people, Thomas Massey and Matt Gaetz, I think were the only other 2 Republicans that voted with me against money for Ukraine. But now 117 Republicans last night voted against funding for Ukraine, and we passed a fully funded defense appropriation bill with no money for Ukraine. I mean, it's not a full victory. I'm not saying that we completely stopped because we couldn't stop the 300 million, but we passed a defense bill funding the Department of Defense with no funding for the Ukraine war.
So, Congresswoman Green, the government will, quote unquote, pause, slow down tomorrow if there's not an agreement met. Do you anticipate the House being able to fulfill the mandate given by voters, and or will the government shut down? Please, what do you think is going to happen?
I'm anticipating a shutdown, Charlie. That's from what I understand on the vote count that I've heard, that there is not enough votes to pass a CR. And I have to tell you, Charlie, I really probably am against the CR myself. And here's why. I'm a successful business owner, Charlie, and I've always kept my business running, but we did it the right way. And I'm very upset that this Congress that we control actually went home in August and half of September, and we didn't stay in Washington and do our jobs, which we should have done. As a matter of fact, we should have been here the entire year passing our appropriation bills, because that is the job that we're supposed to do by the Constitution for the United States House of Representatives. And I think we should stay here and keep doing our hard work to pass these appropriation bills, which we have been doing this week because we've actually been working at it. So I don't see the CR proposed. The Senate has already said that it's dead on arrival, the one that we're supposed to vote on today. The Senate has said they won't pass it. The White House has said they won't pass it because we know the Biden administration is America last. So this vote that's about to happen is for a CR that probably won't pass the House, and the Senate won't pass it, and the White House won't pass it. So it's more wasted time where we should be working hard on our appropriation bills.
In closing, how does the border factor into all these negotiations?
The border should be the #1 concern, and that has been my strongest argument, Charlie, is I have been fighting with my colleagues that the only border we should care about is the United States border, not Ukraine's border, and that we should be united as a government, no matter which political party we represent, in defending and securing our border. And as a matter of fact, Charlie, I've had some pretty heated conversation with some of my colleagues that are all in for killing Russians, but yet they don't have enough courage to take on the Mexican cartels. And I think that's the war that we should be focused on, is the war that the Mexican cartels have waged against our country that's killing 300 Americans a day.
I just have to say, it's very creepy and weird when I hear people like, we have to kill as many Russians as possible. It's very dark, like very weird and dark for a country that really hasn't killed any Americans in the last. I'm not saying Russia's a good country. I don't like the Russian government. I don't like Putin. But it's like this fascination, this almost, I'll put it at that. Let's just say this weird motivation to try to kill as many Russians as possible, which does nothing but hurts our geopolitical stance. So Marjorie, just in closing, you do think that opinion is changing on the Ukraine issue? You see it. I mean, Zelensky visits and he loses 117 votes. So we have to keep the pressure on. And then finally, is there any concern by even moderate Democrats to try to secure the border? Or are they all in for the invasion and the third worldification of America?
Charlie, I serve on the Homeland Committee, and I can tell you right now that Democrats are all in on the invasion of America. As a matter of fact, I hardly hear any of them talk about border security measures. As a matter of fact, they constantly defend migrants that are invading our country illegally. So they're all in for migrants' rights, not the rights of United States citizens. They don't care about Eagle Pass or any other border town. They don't care about New York City being overrun. They don't care about the people that are dying from fentanyl being trafficked across our border. And they certainly don't care about migrant children that the Biden administration has lost. And now we're getting close to 100,000 migrant children that no one knows where they are. But yet they still want to talk about Trump put children in cages. It's really sad, Charlie. It's unbelievable. But unfortunately, Democrats do not care about securing our border one single bit.
Marjorie Taylor Greene, keep the fight. Thanks so much.